Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Here she comes.
How are you?
I'm very well. How's your week been?
Well, my website's back up. That's the exciting news. Not just back up, but back up with full functionality. And that was yesterday, which was the 24th, having lost it on the 13th. So my overwhelming thought about my week, indeed 2 weeks, is what a patient person I am.
Yes. And I wouldn't have said that before this. So
me neither. No. And actually, I was talking to a client in New Zealand this morning who's the same age as me, and we both agreed that it is marvellous that in our 60s we can be making changes to the personality that we thought we were, and making changes in our lives and being hungry and enthusiastic and upbeat for that, because of course the opposite, failing to reinvent yourself and getting stuck in a rut is aging and life shortening.
Yeah, absolutely. Neuroplasticity.
Yeah, so being able to reinvent oneself as patient over a website drama is a good thing to know about myself.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm about 20% of the way there. I think I'd have been going. What? It's not so much even that you can do anything about it, so you just have to be patient. It's a bit like when my internet went off yesterday and didn't show any signs of coming back. I just thought, okay, so we just got our books out last night because the telly doesn't work, obviously, and we had electricity, thank the Lord. So it wasn't like we were trying to read by candlelight, and we had the fire. But I just thought, okay, well, it'll come back when it comes back. But waiting for something like a website is a different thing because it's business. I'm not so patient when it comes to that. I'm not good at waiting at all.
I think the pertinent question there is, what can we do about it? And I don't think we could do anything about this because a server disappeared, and there's a big hosting company that is gazillions of websites. Okay,
yeah.
And I'm right down the bottom end of their priorities because I'm a one-woman website, and they probably had 13,000 of those on one server, and they had maybe more. They had to bring them all back on individually.
Yeah, and how did you feel that not having a website damaged your business in any way? I mean, do you normally get a regular number of sign-ups to your e-zine through it?
Well, it was interesting. It was interesting actually, as I described it to Marion as the last straw in a long line of last-ish straws. And it was because the world bombarded me with a lot of last-ish straws over the last few years. I didn't have any kind of energy for fighting it. And quite often I know that when you fight things, it doesn't actually make them better. So part of my patience was a sort of path of least resistance in a way, and part of it was philosophical. It was whatever come back when it comes back. Oddly, I hadn't done a sort of massive January push for new business, and if I had, and links were not clickable in blog posts, Facebook notes, newsletters, I would have been cross, because that would have been for 11 days in the middle of what might have been an important marketing period. Now, as it happens, as you'll hear in the next, I'll tell you the second half of the answer to your question comes in the next section, but I guess I just found strange reserves of what will be. And radically, I've pulled out of another project, left a lot of Facebook groups, pruned my mailing list by all of the people that never opened it. I've done quite a lot. I'm hovering on the brink of deleting my Twitter profile as well. I've done quite a lot of sort of clearing out. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about Twitter. I'm completely on the fence about that one still. They're going to, if
But I'll tell you what, let's talk about it for just a second, because it brings traffic to my website, but I'm not aware, in fact, quite the opposite. I am aware that I'm going to have a single client from it, so why do I bother?
Yeah, we all started. It seemed like a really obvious thing when it first started because it was the only thing of its kind. And you're right. I'm not sure that you can get the engagement. The only thing is, if you are aiming at MDs and CEOs and senior management, they all seem to be on Twitter, and that seems to be the only one they use.
Well, I tell you what I think you can get from it, actually, and this might be a client challenge of the week for another time, which is, when it started, it was a deliciously writery challenge to express yourself in 140 characters.
Yeah.
But now it's a fast-moving news and media platform. That's what it is now.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this a lot because he was one of the earliest investors in Twitter, and he really wants it to succeed. But even he's saying, unless they change that algorithm so you see more of the things you interact with and the people you want to see stuff from, then it's just going to die a death because nobody can keep up with it, the pace of it.
Well, I think it might die a death from the perspective of us using it as a marketing tool, but I have friends who rely on it as a what's going on in the world, fast moving. It's like a ticker tape across the bottom of your TV screen. You can find out what the news is and what the media make of the news in a nanosecond.
Yeah, that's true. And it has broken a lot of big stories, hasn't it?
Yeah, so actually, what use is that to us as a marketing tool? It isn't. It might have a use to you if you were a news hound, which I'm not interested in the latest news the minute it breaks. No, I don't think it has any value to me. But again, like LinkedIn, which I did eventually get rid of, I sit on the fence for a long time before I'm ready to press that button. But there you go. So I've learned a lot about myself as a patient, constantly evolving human being. And hurrah, my website's back.
Yes, it is. I was reading your blog post only yesterday. Did you say?
Me.
Oh, hang on. No. I need to just ask a question. Did you say you got rid of LinkedIn?
Yes, so I got rid of LinkedIn. I actually got rid of LinkedIn twice. In the last 6 or 8 years, I got rid of LinkedIn once when I was having my gap year, 2011. And then I thought, oh, well, I don't know whether that's the right thing to do. So I got it back, and it's never made me a single bean ever. My clients are not on LinkedIn. My clients are solopreneurs working from home.
Yeah, I understand that. I just don't know if I could just bring myself to get rid of something that requires no maintenance, because it, like Twitter, LinkedIn does. You can get it updated automatically from the.
My thing is about focusing on what does work for me, and that's my own blogging, my own newsletter, and Facebook.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
And this, the podcast. So I'd rather stop wasted energy, not effort, because there's no effort. And that's part of the problem. No effort in LinkedIn or Twitter for me. That's part of the problem. I don't put energy there and get any return on it. Where I put energy is when I get return. Yeah,
that's a very good way of looking at things. And you're right. Even just having it takes up a teeny bit of space in your brain. So
it's a sort of tiny emotional drain, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. So my week has been interesting. It's had very big highs and very big lows, and as is the way of these things.
Yes.
My V-zine came out, which it took us a little while to get it right, but it's right now. And Phoebe's she's working on number 2, but she was called away to be the official videographer for a fashion shoot yesterday. And one of her other friends was modelling lingerie, among other things, and Phoebe was asked to go and film the whole thing. So that's a delicious project for her, and really exciting for me. But it means that my V-zine's been delayed. But it's made us talk about when am I going to deliver the stuff to her by? When is she going to guarantee to have it out by? And like like the podcast, we think a week is about right. So it takes into account her other commitments. But I'm very excited about that. It's had lots and lots and lots of views on Facebook, particularly because if you upload it natively, as they say, to Facebook page, Facebook really does reward you with that, and not only shows it to lots of your likes, but other people too. So that's really good. I sent my first whoosh to my app users, as it's called, which is a bit like Push Crew, where people can sign up for notifications on your website. But here, when people download the app, they say, are you up to receive notifications? And they can choose how they receive those notifications, as you can on your phone with any notification. Do you want sound? Do you want a banner? Do you want something that flashes across the screen and goes away? Do you want something that sits there to remind you? So that was really good. So I've had over 50 downloads in the first week, which I'm really quite excited about. It's not the merrymakers going to number one in Australia, but it's 50 more people that have chosen to hear from me, which I think is really exciting.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question about the app in a minute, but keep going with your highs and lows for the moment.
Well, we're on to the lows now. Facebook disabled my ad account. Now, this is, for someone who runs Facebook ads for people, this is an effing disaster. It doesn't actually affect my ability to look after my clients' accounts, which is good. And I don't actually have that many clients left anymore because I've been deliberately just keeping the ones I love. But it means that my new business, which was running so beautifully with beautiful leads coming into my mailing list and then going on to take the survey and being engaged and telling me what their problems were, and then me having the ability to follow up with them, and nurture them and turn them into customers eventually, has disappeared.
Yes.
Now, I had a complete heart attack, obviously, but I've been working very hard on keeping my emotions under control with this one. And for the first few days, I just assumed it was because I'd been advertising my app, which was the only thing I'd done differently. I'd done a little app competition campaign. They didn't seem to object to that. Because normally what happens is if they don't like an ad, they'll just disable the ad. They won't disable the whole account. It's a big deal to get your whole account disabled. And, terms, they say it's for violations of policy, but they won't tell you which one you violated. So it's sitting there, this big fat red notice in my account. And I thought perhaps I'd upset them with the competition, and I realised, no, it couldn't be that because I turned it off before this happened. Then I thought it might have been the campaign I set up to encourage app installs, because there is a thing, where you can optimise for app installs. So obviously they don't mind you advertising your app because, and I'm not someone, Judith, who makes ridiculous claims in their ads.
You haven't offered me anything yet that's making me think, oh, yes, that's it. So keep going with this list. Okay,
so then the other morning, I woke, because what happens is you go into your ad account and you see a notice and it says, if you think this is in error, contact us. But you can only email them through a form. So I went in and I contacted them 4 times. And then I suddenly realised that I was contacting them, and the only thing I was being offered on the drop-down list was my personal ad account, which I wasn't running ads through. So I thought to myself, oh, well, perhaps they've gone and had a look and thought, well, what's the silly girl talking about? There's no ads on this account. But it didn't offer me the option to choose the ad account that's within my biz manager. So then I thought, okay, well, let's go in and have a look at so then I went and I sent 2 more messages saying, I'm not talking about my personal ad account, I'm talking about my biz manager account, and here's the number of the biz account, here's the number of the biz manager ad account. But I had to choose something else from the drop-down menu, so that was making it quite difficult. Then a couple of more days went past, no response whatsoever. And I suddenly thought to myself, I wonder if I went into the help section in Biz Manager, because it's a bit like something horrible that you can't resist. You know that they'll email you if they turn it back on, but you can't help yourself going and having a look. Oh, yes, it's still off. Oh, God. Yeah. So then I thought, okay, well, let's have a look at the Biz Manager help. And there used to be a thing where you could actually go and do live chat, but they've taken that away. But I ended up on a form that looked different to the previous forms, and it was asking me questions like, have you changed your business card recently? Are you in a different country to where your business card is, where your billing address is? I thought, oh, God, that's what it is. They've somehow picked up, I must have done something in my ad account with my VPN turned off, which is the thing that tells my computer to tell the world that I'm in England. I must have gone in, and because sometimes I have to turn my VPN off, and you were asking me about this, because I want to pay for things. And sometimes shopping carts don't let you pay for things unless they can tell which country you're in. So you have to turn the VPN off, and then somehow it doesn't re-enable the protection properly unless you shut your whole computer down and restart it, which I very rarely do. So I suddenly thought to myself, oh my God, this happened to one of my clients right back in the early days when I started running Facebook ads. They went to America and they logged into their Facebook account to make a change from an American hotel. So obviously Facebook thought perhaps there was some fraud going on, disabled their account. because it asked me to do strange things like prove my identity. I had to upload a driving license or a passport or something. So I did all that 2 days ago, thinking, oh, they'll turn it straight back on now. Because, you know, I'm in Greece. I've told them I'm in Greece. I've told them I'm here for six months. Anyway, nothing. So then I started reaching out to my friends who have got big ad accounts and who run big accounts and who might have a personal rep in Facebook. And 2 people have agreed to try and help me. So I've supplied them with the details. Of course, the internet went off yesterday, so that sort of halted me in my tracks. But Judith, if I can't get this back on, I'm just going to be cut off at the knees. It's not the end of the world because I could learn how to do YouTube ads. And in fact, I've just invested in a little course because I thought it might be nice to learn how to do YouTube ads and teach Phoebe how to do them. But it's just a disaster area. And the worst thing is, and everybody says this, it's the lack of contact. You know, if you...
Well, I have to say the whole thing doesn't make any sense either, and I'll tell you why. Because, you know, the internet, online marketers are digital nomads by definition. So what it's basically saying is you can't do anything from another country. What about those people that we interviewed that are in other countries incessantly?
Yeah, and the other thing is that, you know, when you have an ad disapproved, you can, and you really can't figure out what you've done wrong, you can send in an email and they will reply to you within a day. It's almost like if you do something that is bad enough in their eyes to get your account shut down, it's like the steel shutter slams shut. I mean, I'm emotionalizing or whatever it is, because that's what it feels like. And nobody contacts you. You know, it's like if it is just that I've used my account in a different country, can't they just send an automated email to say, oh, we've noticed some strange activity on your account. Yeah. Can you confirm your identity, please?
Yes.
No, slammed down, cut off, no responses from anybody whatsoever. It's just absolutely draconian.
No. And also, it does give, well, I don't want to say this really because I want this happily resolved, but it does give a clue about the way Facebook use, I'm deliberately saying that, the other choice of word would be misuse, their powers.
Yeah. I mean, their first, I know that I don't spend, I've spent quite a bit with them over the last 3 years.
And if I knew that he went to Greece, I'm struggling to see the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
For me.
Yes. So, you know, I know that their first responsibility is to their users, not to their advertisers. It's, you know, so I realise that. But it's just the complete lack of any response whatsoever. It's just...
But also, what harm could come of you doing what they've observed?
What, me going to Greece?
Yeah.
What, moving? Well, I suppose they have to be fairly careful about fraud, in that if somebody got hold of my credit card in a different country and came and used my account, they could, you know, theoretically run up unlimited ads on my account, on my stolen credit card. You know, so I suppose they've got to be a little bit careful about that kind of thing. And I do appreciate that. And really, it wouldn't have been an issue if I just got an email to say, unusual activity on your account, can you confirm it's you? Or, you know, one response to one of the daily emails I've sent pleading for them to tell me what I've done wrong.
Yeah.
You know, it really is just very annoying. But it does.
That's one of the issue that I had with the loss of my website, which was live chat stopped helping me. Support was by email, so you know, I would email, and then in the end, I came to understand the working life of the man I was dealing with. He would respond to me at 9 o'clock every morning, next morning. So if I sent something, anything after sort of lunchtime or in the evening, dream on. I will hear from the SAP tomorrow morning. It's
interesting from a point of view of I'm obviously it's a vulnerability that I'm getting organic traffic too, but the minute I learned how to use Facebook ads, it changed my landscape, because I'd been relying on organic traffic up until that point. You know, that's not something you can control. Facebook ads was a source of direct, targeted, interested traffic that was affordable. You know, I can use AdWords. I've got an AdWords account nowadays because I opened a limited company, and they allowed me, having banned me back in 2006, to open a new AdWords account. So, you know, theoretically I could use AdWords, I could use YouTube advertising and whatever, but there's no denying the best source of paid, affordable, targeted traffic right now is Facebook. And if they've shut me down for something that I haven't done, I'm just invading.
If they've shut you down for going to Greece, it's just nonsense.
It is. But Judy, if they've shut my whole account down for a minor transgression on one ad in one campaign on a account that's been unblemished for the last 3 years, that's just a bit bloody draconian as well. Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't even understand what transgressions on ads can be, quite frankly.
Things where you when you make unproven claims or you aim at negative advertising. So you say to someone, "Are you?"
You haven't really done any of that.
I haven't done any of that. No, not at all. No. And like I say, if they disapprove an ad, they'll respond to you. But this one, there's no coming back from it unless they suddenly realise, or someone can get to them who's got a rep. Who's actually spending enough to have been allocated to
that. Absolutely madness, isn't it? I wonder how many people. Where is the office that you're leaving?
So the office, the Facebook ads office, I think, is in Ireland.
Yes, I was going to say Dublin. I thought it might be. I wonder how many people go round who live in Ireland. Just popping round to Facebook because they won't answer my question. Pick it at their front gate. Now, the question I wanted to ask about the app.
Yes.
Was specifically about content that you don't create elsewhere, but you create specifically for the app and disseminate via the app. Does such a thing exist? Now, let me tell you what I'm thinking. Vis-a-vis that conversation we had on this yesterday about, shutting down my website and stopping blogging and newsletters and blah, blah, blah. What if I only wanted to communicate through my app? Do I have to write on my blog and have the blog feed go through, or can I create content only on the app?
You can. There's two bit things you can do. You can create private pages on your blog, which just feed through to the app, so they're not available.
I don't want to do that. Because the website thing has made me think again about.
And then the other thing, I've got a membership site on a domain, another domain name.
So it's got to be web-based first. You can't do something directly onto the app and disseminate it from there.
I don't know is the answer, because I know very well. You'd have to ask the chap I got the app.
Yes, I will. I thought you might know.
Yeah, I can ask him for you.
Okay.
I think it gets a lot more expensive if you do it like that, but I'll ask him. I've got no idea.
Okay.
Right.
My question really is, can you blog on an app, or do you blog on your blog and put the feed through?
Well, I think there's got to be ways to do it just through an app.
Why?
Because of all those apps that don't have a website.
Right, and having spent 13 days, whatever it is, without a website, I want to think about ways where I don't have a website.
Especially as if, Google search, if someone searched you on Google, apps show up as well. So
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so what's fueled your fire?
Oh, well, I've had a completely amazing week in terms of money.
Really brilliant.
Several clients renewing for a whole year at a time, months in advance of the necessity to do that. One sent me an email that said, she wanted to pay in advance to reduce her tax bill, which of course I completely understand. And she said, and I said, and if you pay for it, because she was a monthly subscriber and she wants to pay for a year in advance. So I said, and if you do that, of course, you'll save 2 12ths, so you'll get 10 for the price of 12 for the price of 10. And so she not only sent me that sum of money that night, but sent me the 2 remaining instalments of the current year, which nobody has ever done before. They've switched from method A to B, but they've never honoured the remainder of their contract. Now, you're probably thinking, what's she on about? But actually, in accounting terms, that's absolutely the correct thing to do. This woman's understanding of that is unique in my coaching 15 years. So there was a sum of money I wasn't expecting, and it was 2 months bigger than I thought I was negotiating for. Another client said, can I pay you for a year in advance? I'm not due to renew until March. Yes, lovely, thanks very much. Can I do it tonight? Yes, you can. The client I told you about last week that I wasn't expecting. I've had more money in this month, and I haven't finished yet. I've had more money in this month than with no marketing push and no website, which is partly the answer to your question, and in several months added together the whole of the last year. It's just as I anticipated with this thing about 2017. And I said to you, 2016 was a 9 year, it's a shutting down. This is an opening up. We've turned the horrible corner. It's going to be better. And but better than that still. A client gave me a pay rise.
Yeah, I don't understand what you were saying there.
Okay. So he's a pay what you want client, and we agreed a sum of money that he would pay by session. And at the end of the second call that we did this year, he sent me 120% of our agreed sum of money. And I went, oh, how abundant are you? And he said, oh, you're worth every penny. And my exact response, not to him was, but to myself, yeah, I know I am. I knew I was worth a lot more than he was paying me. But one accounting client in 1980 something did it. Nobody does that. Nobody gives me a pay rise. I set my hourly rates. And it's just a particularly nice thing when a person pays you more than you were expecting.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course it is.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't understand. Do you seem to say he was paying some instalments?
No, he's a pay what you want. So book yourself in, send a sum of money. And we've been doing that since 2015. And he rocked up at the beginning of 2017, booked one in, paid the old sum of money, booked a second one in and paid the new sum of money. And I said, he said, and I'm going to pay you 120% from now on. And I went, oh, how abundant. He said, you're worth every cent. In fact, a lot more. Which I know. I mean, he's. I wouldn't say he was underpaying me, and I'm very grateful for the sum of money he's paying me now. But I know I deliver a greater value even than he's paying me now. So it was. He gave me a pay rise. I thought on the first call, you've just had phenomenal value for money there. You really should be paying more. And he decided that for himself, which isn't the normal way around. You set your fees, I set my fees, but this client gave me a pay rise.
It's true, because the chap who drove me to Cardamila the other week,
yes.
we didn't agree in advance what it was going to be, so it could have been anything from sort of €0 to €50. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had to wait and drive me back, and I didn't know what he was going to charge at all. So, but I trusted him. He's a nice chap. I trusted him, and so when we got back, I said, "What do I owe you then?" He named a sum that was so ridiculously low. I instantly doubled it and gave him the money.
Like the man that sold my cat from and took it to Tracy's house, if you remember. He wanted 20 quid, so I gave him 50.
Yeah.
But actually, the point of this story, I think, is what is the point of this story?
We were talking about what fueled your fire.
Well, obviously, lots of money incoming and clients renewing and everything is nice. But to get a bonus unexpectedly is nice. But that's not my point either. I'll recall it in a minute. It's about. I think it reinforced. Oh, I know. It reinforced my own confidence in my own worth and value. I wrote a blog post about it yesterday, and several people commented and said, "Oh, my husband has clients who increase his rates too." So it's not. And actually, I let all of my existing clients into my new group for free, and one of them sent me a sum of money anyway. And one of my clients once who paid 75 quid for the first free session where everybody else gets for free. People are, I love this thing about money. I debated it with the client already this morning, who was horror struck by how much somebody in London was charging for something. I went, it's not about the money. Anybody can charge any price they want for something, and we mustn't be judgmental. But the thrill of being a person who sets your own rates and having a client pay you more because they think you're worth more than that never goes away.
Yeah, I remember when I had a solicitor client for Facebook ads. This is a good story why you must never be worked outable on an hourly rate, because she worked out that I was getting paid per hour more than she was, and she didn't like that one single bit. So yeah, there's a lot of people who do think about it like that.
In something that you do, in fact something that I do, in fact something that a lot of my clients do, is it has to be a project rate, because I don't know how she thinks she worked out what you were doing. How many hours did she know you were doing?
Well, it was to do with she asked me lots of questions, and I foolishly answered them in the spirit of being transparent, and she managed by that to work out that actually
you've learned your lesson then, haven't you?
I have. Yeah. Just quickly on the topics, there's two other things in play there. One is that you've got the tax deadline looming, so those of your clients who've got a tax bill and who wanted to mitigate that to some degree
no, actually, because the 31st of January tax submission deadline is your accounts up until
yes, of course it is. Yes.
Yeah. But people who are carry on with that point.
Well, I was just thinking, it's a subliminal sort of deadline looming, isn't it? So people might be thinking, oh, if I
Well, actually, I put in both of my groups just before Christmas. If anybody would like to switch from monthly to annually, because that's how I want to do it now with everybody. Remember, you'll get 2 months off, and clearly that message had stuck with one client. And she got it. Yeah.
Okay, good. So adding value and encouraging people to.
Well, I've only got to audit it once a year, haven't I?
Yeah, of course.
And I've got a nice long chunk of time with which to make a difference to the client's business and life.
Well, that's right.
Now, you haven't told us what's fueled your fire, have you?
Well, it's nice and quick. Actually, it's just that most of my tech is done. I've got the membership site up. I've ironed out a lot of the glitches. There's some colour work to do. Just, I'm not happy with the way the top menu's displaying, but that's, I know how to play around with that now because the techie guy showed me. And so really this week's been much more about focusing on creative content. So, stuff I don't normally enjoy has suddenly become enjoyable, i.e. making memes for our podcasts and making memes for my blog posts and sharing those. I've turned off Meet Edgar because I'm not convinced it's helping, and I think it might even be hindering in terms of Facebook penalising the people who are using automated tools, and it's quite depressing to get a report from Meet Edgar to say that your followers and likes haven't gone up significantly in the last week. So I thought, why am I paying for this? It's not working. It's not bringing me more likes and followers, so I'm turning it off, and it costs about £40 a month, so $67 I think it was. So I've just turned it off and started sharing manually, which is, a bit dependent on whether I actually do it or not. But now I'm not working on tech stuff. I've got the time. And then the other thing,
I don't really believe in scheduling social media content, as you know, because I think it's all about engagement.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see if my stuff gets more engagement now, apart from the videos, which always gets more engagement. And so really, I can just learn, simplify and output, and then in different formats. And I'm umming and ahhing about whether to do a personal podcast or not. I'm not sure if I can cope with more tech, although I could get Sarah to do it because she's podcast queen at setting them up. So I'm not sure is the answer. But it's quite nice to know that it's all there now and working. The app's working, the membership site's working, the blog's working. Thank God. Can't take that for granted after this last week you've had.
No, quite.
So that's what's fueled me fire. Would you like to hear about 18 proven ways to enjoy a successful location-independent business and the freedom to live wherever you like? Own It The Summit is a pack of 18 dynamite interview recordings with globally successful entrepreneurs sharing their secrets of the real laptop lifestyle. We handpicked each of these people to interview to show you how to set yourself free to design your ideal lifestyle, whether working from home or travelling the world, while running a successful virtual business that you absolutely love. Just visit ownitthesummit.com and get your hands on these life-changing recordings today.
Well, given that we've just taken half an hour over the first two sections that normally take us about 5 minutes, I hope we've got a very, very short client challenge of the week.
Well, it's more of a client opportunity of a week, Judith, and I want to go to it now. I've just finished reading a book called Simplify, and it's a really interesting book. It's written by two people who are very well regarded. They actually wrote the first 80/20 book. Richard Koch. Koch, not absolutely sure how to pronounce that, but anyway, the book's brilliant, and what it does is it talks in very simple terms that anyone can understand, and gives lots of lovely examples of their theory, which has been proven by quite a lot of deep analysis, that in order to really make your business fly, you need to simplify. And I'm not just talking about making the offer really simple, which is a great idea anyway. You have to make sure people can understand what you're offering and what the benefit is to them. But they go into talking about the two different kinds of simplification you can do. You can either simplify on price, or you can simplify on proposition. And when they talk about simplifying on price, they give some really nice guidelines, which are that if, for example, you want to go in and the main player is charging, I don't know, £100 for something, it's no good going in at £80, £90, because there's going to be other people doing exactly the same. You've got to go in, if you want to simplify on price, you've got to go in and simplify by more than 50%. So you've got to charge less than 50% of what the main player is charging, and you have to know that you can get your costs of delivery down to more than 50%. And that sometimes means reworking the offer. So think budget airlines for a session. That's a good example. Budget airlines like Southwest Airlines came in and they simplified the offer. You couldn't travel all over the country. You could only travel between the 3 main Texan states, but you could do it for more than half off what the other people were charging. But in order to do that, they had to be able to deliver the service for less than 50% of what it was costing currently. So they got rid of things like airline food, fancy lounges and all that stuff. And they limited how much luggage you could carry. So that's one good example of simplifying. And what happens by simplifying? Henry Ford's another example. He made cars much more than 50% cheaper than they currently were. And he simplified the offering. You could only get it in black. And he also made the cost of making a car so much cheaper by creating the production line. So don't try and compete on price unless you're going to go really low. And what that does is it opens up a whole new market to buying that product, because the only people who could afford cars before, or even air travel to some degree, were wealthy, middle class and wealthy people. By opening up a market to be able to buy a car for, it was under $400 at one point, you could buy a car. Obviously it was the olden days, so that's more expensive, but it actually opened up a whole new marketplace, because people were suddenly, ordinary people, who the vast majority of people are ordinary people, were able to afford it.
Okay, so I have a question.
Go on then.
Of course, typically for me, I want to go in the other direction. I want to charge 150 quid and open up a different market above, not below. I'm
about to come on to that.
Oh,
so the other option, well, actually, you're in one of the exceptions. The other example is to simplify the offering. And let me just come exactly where they call it. Hang on a second. Proposition, that's it. Simplify the proposition. Now, there's several qualities of simplifying a proposition. One is that you make it has to be beautiful. That's one of the four criteria. It has to be beautiful. It has to be nice to use. Now, a good example of that is the mobile phone. There were mobile phones around, and then iPhone came along, and it was beautiful. It wasn't the cheapest, my God, no. It was probably the most expensive. But it was not only easy to use, that's one of the criteria. It's got to be easier to use, and it's got to be beautiful. And it can be expensive then, because people, if it's easier to use, they will pay more. And if it's beautiful and aesthetically pleasing, they call it art in the book, then people will pay more for it. So you've got to decide whether you want to go simplify by price or simplify by proposition. Now, question.
Well, I can tell you well, that was my question, but I can tell you now proudly, I have never been, nor do I ever intend to go on a budget airline.
No. Really? Never been on EasyJet?
No, certainly not.
Okay. So good examples of proposition simplifier are Uber and Airbnb. And apps, apparently, are driving a big explosion in proposition simplifiers, because what they're doing is they're coming in and they're taking markets that were big and cumbersome and rigid and slow moving, and they're making the proposition better. So for hotels, it was, for example, hotels can now use Priceline app and lastminute.com. Lastminute.com was probably the first one of those. And they could put their unwanted inventory on an app at the last minute, and people could access that last minute inventory for really ridiculous prices. And even lastminute.com, the top hotels can put their inventory on, and you don't know exactly which hotel you're going to stay in, but you know it's a 5-star and you know it's in...
Yeah, and you know what that is for the hotel? It's what I call free money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but for the customer, it's a no-brainer as well. It's something, when you're simplifying a proposition, the customer immediately gets it.
Yeah.
It's a bit like so. For example,
I nag my clients about this all the time. Make it simple. Make it simple. Make it simple. No more than 3 choices. No more than 3 bullet points. They don't get it. They throw the kitchen sink at it, because I could do that, I could do that, I could do that, and I go, that would be a fourth choice. Can we get it down to three choices again? No. It's endless overcomplication. What's the word?
Trying to plead a really good example of that is McDonald's. Obviously, the only other option for fast local food that was half decent was to go to your local diner. But because the local diners, in order to supply, say, a menu of 50 items, they needed to carry sort of 3,000 items. They were carrying inventory that cost them money. Whereas if you read the story, McDonald's were only offering 5 things and they only had to carry 40 items. Because
also, in America, particularly McDonald's, they brought the price of it down so cheaply that anybody could afford to.
That's right. 15 cents was the first burger.
I remember.
Yeah, and the thing is that it also gave them massive buying power because they were only buying 5 items and they were buying them in bulk. Because the turnover was so high, because the price was so cheap, they were able to negotiate much better rates for the things they were buying as well. It simplified their back end. It simplified the buying process. It enabled them to compete on price. But in terms of proposition, thinking about it, you've got the apps, for example. Uber don't have taxis. Airbnb don't own hotels. So it's simplifying the working from the point of view of the app. It's simplifying, it's making a no-brainer proposition to the customer, which is opening up a bigger market. And I just found the whole book, I can't recommend it highly enough. If you've got a business already and you would like to, make your business more successful. And they just go through example after example, and they've analysed everything from Ford onwards, and every single top successful company that had a runaway success. Google, another example, proposition simplifier. They made, the previous search engines that were available were on really cluttered backgrounds. They weren't aesthetically pleasing to use. They didn't work very well. So Google came along and had a double whammy. They didn't just make it work better, i.e. you got better results. They made it more beautiful to use. Vespa, another example. It was a nice little scooter that everyone used to ride motorbikes, but girls couldn't ride motorbikes because of their dresses. People didn't want to ride motorbikes in nice clothes, but Vespa came along with its sort of beautiful design and its lovely mud guards that saved your clothes from getting caught in the wheels and getting you mud all over them. So it's the proposition simplifier is probably the most interesting of the two, I think. But this book is so easy to read and so straightforward in the way it describes the examples. I was really taken with it.
And I'm always banging on about one woman, one website. We're heading in the direction of one woman, one app, but the simplification also applies to your situation with your app, which is if in the end all you've got is your app, you've simplified your whole life as well.
Well, it's interesting you should say that because I know that James Schramko read this book a little while ago, and he the thing about having a membership site that's on a forum is forums are not very user-friendly to use on mobile devices because they're quite big things and they shrink down quite small. But what the app does is it makes the membership site really easy to use from your mobile phone. In fact, I use my own app to access my own membership site, because it's so much easier to use than doing it on a Chrome browser on a mobile device. And so he read this book and he sold off his other 2 companies, and then he just concentrated on making his proposition for his membership site much, much more attractive and easy to use. And I can see the examples of what he's done after reading this book. It's fascinating. So it's a great book to recommend to anyone really who's already got a business or who's thinking of starting a business. How can you go in and don't either compete on price and disrupt the market to open up a whole new market, or how can you go in and make your proposition so much more simple, beautiful and easy to use that it becomes a no-brainer to use your service or product.
Yes.
Nice. It's a nice book. I liked it.
Yeah, good.
Case studies are really good, and it also proves the value of case studies. So again, if you can use case studies in your own marketing, that's very powerful. So what's your word of the week then?
It's comma.
Okay.
Because I've had a really, really fun conversation on Facebook with a chap who was applying for something, and because of the placement of the comma in a sentence, he had understood, if they had used that comma correctly, he had understood one interpretation of how he was supposed to behave. But because they'd used it incorrectly, his submission in response, I don't think it was a job application, he was pitching for a piece of work, was incorrect. And of course, the advertiser would never in a month of Sundays understand what my Facebook pal had understood by the comma. But it just is fascinating to me that you can have a conversation. People don't understand that how grammar and spelling and punctuation and all of that, how people who understand how that's supposed to work understand meaning by it. Yeah. And the reverse is true. If you can't punctuate or spell or use grammar correctly, your message is wrong. Anyway, I thought it was fascinating. It turned up the knob marked Judith Grammar Nerd, another It was fascinating to have a conversation with a man about a comma. It was fascinating that the person who sent the message out originally didn't understand that and would never understand that. It was interesting how many honest people said, I don't understand this in response either. And it made me think, if more leisure time is ultimately coming in my direction, then I want to do even more to protect the English language, but not by becoming a nerd, interestingly, just by doing it well.
Yeah. I absolutely loathed English language lessons at school, but I think I've picked up a fairly...
I don't actually remember. I know I had English language lessons. I can't remember anything that was taught to me in it.
Oh, so dull, that's why.
I can't remember what they did in English language.
Yeah. I think anyone who reads a lot must naturally pick up a grasp of grammar.
Well, I think if you go on the occasional writing course, as I did, you learn more of this and you get recommended books, not much of which I've read. But the thing about a comma is very interesting. Do you know about the Oxford comma?
I don't know. Tell me.
Well, the Americans are slightly obsessed with the Oxford comma, and I'm not going to try and teach you in this podcast now. But when I first read the description of what the Oxford comma was, I thought, well, that's rubbish. And now I've understood it. It's not rubbish at all. Where you put a comma in a list of things like eggs, comma, toast, comma, and marmalade, I didn't used to put one after toast. I would put eggs, toast, and marmalade. That means one thing. Eggs, comma, toast, and marmalade means one thing. Eggs, comma, toast, comma, and marmalade means another thing.
We're not supposed to put a comma before an and, though.
Well, you have always said that to me. That's not true. If you put it, this is the Oxford comma. If you put it in that place, it means something. It gives a whole different meaning to the sentence.
Oh, we could really disappear into a conversation about this.
Anyway, the point is, my word is comma. What's yours?
Very nice. It should be tweak, because this week we've had a conversation in our family Facebook group, and someone said tweak and spelt it completely wrong. Then someone else corrected the first person and said tweak and spelt that completely wrong. And I came in and I said, well, you might mean tweak, and spelt it correctly, of course. But everyone hates me for that in my family.
It's TWEAK, isn't it? Tweak.
Exactly, Judith. And they'd come up with all sorts of TWEKE was the first attempt.
Oh, that's ghastly. I mean, I could see EEK probably as
that was the second one. That was
that's the tweet generation, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
but TWEKE, that's horrible.
I know, but I mean, it was just really funny because I cannot help myself, and they hate me for it, and I know they do, but I can't.
Well, I do know what you mean, and it's very hard not to do it on Facebook. Actually, you really don't want to become a pedant.
What I have to do, be very carefully, is not do it when they're talking to me about something they're emotionally involved in, because there's nothing worse than having your spelling or your grammar corrected when you're pouring out your heart to your mother.
As long as they're communicating well, it's relevant, isn't it? I mean, I do get a lot of humour out of this, and that's why I enjoyed the conversation about comma, actually. Yeah. But
my word's unstoppable, because I am not going to let Facebook stop me, even if they cut me off at the knees on paid traffic, and I'm going to go on and learn another method of getting paid traffic to order, because that is the thing that has made such a huge difference to my business world in the last few years.
I'm sure that will be resolved, Nicola. Don't manifest that. I'm not
going to. No, but I mean, I've got Plan B lined up, Judith.
Yes,
I am unstoppable this week.
Yeah, I always think a Plan B means that the half-hearted believing Plan A won't work. Facebook will reinstate you because you haven't done anything wrong. Okay?
Well, hopefully, you just got to get through to someone. Anyway, I'm unstoppable on that too. I'm not going to give up till I get to talk to someone.
Okay.
Cool. What's your project updates about the podcast? I've got you some more numbers. I thought we could just compare every week the numbers.
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, so our 10-day daily download average is still up. It's on an upward trend still. And our 3-month daily download average is on and up. The actual figures for that are that we are averaging 500 downloads a week. So it goes between 400 and 600, and I think that's an average of 500.
Okay.
So, we are position number 81 in the top 100 of management and marketing in the UK. It's obviously different in other territories. So nothing's budging there yet. The only thing that will budge that is average daily downloads going up, or average weekly downloads going up, or numbers of reviews. So to that end, Sarah has put in, instead of having a link to a video that shows you how to review the podcast, she's actually embedded the video in at the bottom of each podcast episode, so we can track to see if that makes a difference to the number of reviews we get.
Okay.
Just to let everyone know, on the review front, I ran a competition for reviews of my app, and it didn't work at all. So either I think if I'd have offered a physical prize, it might have made a difference. Everyone tells me that with competition, physical prizes make a difference. And our push crew numbers are, we have 37 subscribers who have opted to receive notifications from us. We could have up to 500 for free. So, and Push Crew enable you to put an RSS feed in, which means that every time we post a new episode, all our 37 subscribers on Push Crew get a notification.
Okay.
Unless they've turned notifications off on their phones, of course.
Yes.
So that's our numbers this week. Sarah's had a big overhaul of the site, so it's apparently much more. I think it's more user friendly, and as I say, it's got the video in it. So you can go to the front page of the website now and see lots of different episodes, whereas before you could only see the whole of the first episode unless you scroll down for ages. So let's see if that makes a difference to our download numbers. There's quite a few tweaks she's made, so fingers crossed.
Okay.
Who or what's impressed you this week?
Well, counterintuitively, Vasanth, who was the support guy at the hosting company, as I said, I clearly wasn't a very high priority, but he, at the end yesterday, he thanked me for my patience. He was responsive to my request when I asked for things I wanted, and I don't think I was a difficult client, but he kept asking me and telling me to do things I had no idea how to do. And my constant point was, prior to your server crash, I didn't need to do this. So I'm not quite sure why you're asking me to do it now. That if you're going to restore me in the place I was before the crash, I shouldn't be having to do things involving the cPanel and turning off all notifications before and on again before and after updating plugins. I didn't have to do that before. Why should I have to do that afterwards? Anyway, he was very patient. He was responsive, albeit slow. We got there in the end. I thanked him at the end, and he said, that's my job. Anytime you need me, let me know. So the support at my hosting company, albeit slow, was thorough and achieved the end result.
I mean, I'm absolutely astonished they were able to support anyone individually like that.
Oh, me too.
A crash of that magnitude, I really am.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay, so what's impressed me this week is the salescopylab.com. I've got all of my process down, and I'm a little unsure about whether my emails are any good or not, my follow-up emails. I don't mind writing my own copy. In fact, I believe that everyone should write their own copy first draft, first time round. But then I believe that if it's not working to an acceptable level, i.e. 12 emails that aren't converting to memberships, everybody else seems to be able to sell memberships quite easily. So there's no reason why I shouldn't, because I've got a very, hopefully, attractive proposition. But somebody recommended these people, and I was sceptical, but I went over and had a look, and I had to fill in a bit of a long form. You know how much I hate filling in forms, Judith. But it asked me all about my prospect, my proposition, my bonuses, my price point, my, blah, 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 blah. And they're going to write 5 emails for me for $54 each. So $250 for five sales emails. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my 5 emails in the middle that are selling my membership and replace them with theirs for a month and see if it converts any better, because there's a flow of traffic going through. So
well, I can think of one of my clients who'd write that immediately, who said,
well, they write all sorts of things. They write sales letters, they write sales pages. They ask you if you've got any of your competitors have got a sales page that you like. Things like that. So it was a difficult form for me to fill in. It wasn't difficult in terms of the questions. It helped me get clarity about who I was aiming at and what tone I wanted it to get. They write website copy, they write sales letters, they write email follow-ups, they do all sorts of things, and it's an extremely reasonable service. So I'll let you know.
That's a reasonable price too.
Sorry?
I think that's a reasonable price too.
Oh, it's very reasonable for copywriting. My God, yes.
Yeah.
The other place to go if you want to learn how to write copy yourself better, or to find up-and-coming copywriters, is thecopychief.com, which is Kevin Rogers' site. He's got, for $79 a month, you can get in there and learn how to write copy yourself. You can, and he's a brilliant copywriter. So it's an interesting one. I'll let you know.
The salescopylab.com will do it for you. The copychief.com will teach you how to do it.
Or for $79 a month, you can get access to all the up and coming copywriters, so you can do your own deals in there.
Okay.
So if you're interested in sales copy, I'm not interested. It's not one of those things I feel compelled to learn. I feel compelled to learn.
I'll tell you why. And I learned this lesson from studying it under you know who, which is it's formulaic. There's no creativity in it at all. You just follow formulae, and they either work or they don't.
Well, I
mechanical process. There's no gorgeous wordsmithing involved or creativity.
I think gorgeous wordsmithing could be the reason I'm not converting, because I like to tell stories in my copy, and that's what you are told to do. But I think I'm making them too long. And
I remember when Janet Swift and I went to Heathrow for a 5-day weekend under you know who. I'm not going to mention any names. All he did was show us the copies of the books written by the greats and said, just do what they did. And I went, oh, hello, none of me in this, and completely lost interest straight away. Here's a formula, follow it, it works. How dull.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd be interesting to swap out my 5 storytelling emails with theirs 5 formulaic sales emails and see. I bet you anything you like, theirs converts like crazy, and mine didn't.
No, I agree. I totally believe that sales copy is formulaic. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna, if they do a good job on this, I might obviously have to just tweak them a little bit just to make they say anything too ridiculous.
I think your first acid test should be to use the mass provided.
Yeah.
And measure. And then if you feel you want to tweak later, measure. Don't interfere with something you've paid for expertise for initially. Yeah,
absolutely. But they were very thorough. They asked to see my, they wanted a link to my testimonials page. They wanted a link to my main competitors page. So they really are pulling on all the different things they need in order to be able to write a decent.
And are you telling me you think you have competition?
Well, I don't have competition as such in the fact that who's aiming at the 45 plus consultant market in the UK. I would say probably the only competition is Nigel Botterill and Bernadette Doyle and perhaps Shah Wusmund. But we're all aiming at different facets of the market. So, Nigel's is very much a meet locally and get to know people locally and use people locally. Bernadette's aiming very much at the woo-woo sort of market, the sort of fluffies and the therapists. And Shah is definitely, again, aimed at people getting together in real life. So I don't know if it's direct competition, but if people were going to spend $79 a month with someone, they've got to pick between one of us. I mean, some people.
I don't really believe in competition at all. When anybody writes to me trying to sell me something, saying, like your competitors, there's no competition.
Well, it's not about that we're competing directly. It's more about competing for that $79 a month. Who are you going to spend it with? Yeah, you're going to go with someone who you resonate with. You're going to go with someone.
Yeah, you are. So if you're going to go with the person that you resonate with, then there's no competition, because either you do or you don't. You can't fake that.
But then the other thing they could do is they could join Yara Starrick's group. They could join Pat Flynn. I don't think Pat Flynn has a membership site. Anyway, so there are people around, and they like to know which of your competitors you like the style of, so that they can go and see what they're doing as well.
Okay.
I'll let you know what happens anyway.
All right, babe.
Okay, so thanks very much. Lovely episode this week. See you soon.
Bye. Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.